Yes, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Pretty sure you've seen the thumbnail now at this point. And look, this is hate speech. This isn't, what's it called? Slander or blackmail or pulling a bunch of old dirt back to the surface, if that makes any sense. I saw the thumbnail though. Screwed. Complete story of the son, Juan Screwjob. And this Screwjob is very special. It's very particular. It's not like the Montreal Screwjob from Survivor Series between Shawn Michaels and Bret the Hitman Hart. It's somewhat similar, and obviously the thumbnail is inspired by Cultaholic Wrestling, who made that long video in detail explaining the Montreal Screwjob. It's a really good video. I recommend you watch it. Credits to everybody for this, like the thumbnail, the media, anything that I used in this video, this documentary, autobiography. I don't know what the heck to call it. Doesn't matter. But if we want to go back, if we want to talk about recent events or the present, you have to go all the way back. Dating back, more or less, I want to say year 2000. Or maybe 1999, when my mother gave birth to my brother. Of course, I'm not going to give names out here, I'm not going to disclose them like that, you know? But he was born with epilepsy. And if anybody knows what that is, I I'll be honest, I kind of forgot what it is. I think I'm gonna have to look at the technical definition of it. But basically, people like suffer with convulsions, and basically, it's sudden. Like you can't really control it. And keep in mind, I wasn't born yet, but we'll get into that right now. So my mom was evangelized by a friend of hers. At the time, she was assisting a Catholic church. She would go, and her whole life she was always Catholic, always. Sorry, always, involved in those activities. The religion, like, because that's what my grandparents would teach her, And you can only give someone what you have. So you can only give what you have, so that's it. So my mom went, you know, considering that she's already tried pretty much everything, she used her faith on but many other things, on people and other things. And at that time they were giving what I want to call uh, a garment of clothes. I don't know how to say it in English. But basically, she came in the purpose of what in Spanish they call it pañuelo, which was consecrated. And obviously, the pastor explained the service. Use this where you want a miracle. I'm pretty sure it's got to be based on a biblical word. I can think of many. Excuse me. Like when that woman with that was like, that had the situation with her blood for more than 12 years. She touched Jesus' mantle and she was healed instantly. Same with not Peter, I mean Paul. Excuse me. The Apostle Paul, when he gave out his clothes, like his mantle to pieces, people were liberated, people were delivered, people were healed, you know. And so my mom did that and my brother was healed. That was the first miracle. That was enough for my mom to, you know, jump jump ships, jump boats, or whatever you want to call it. Not to a new church, not to be in a new building, but seeing the fact that the faith, the way it was being utilized, the way it was being taught, it was almost magical. And of course, that was God's work. And so, skipping to year 2003, June 9th, on a Monday at 8:01 p.m. at night, I was born in Robert Wood Johnson Hospital in New Brunswick, New Jersey. That was the birth of Christian Arteaga Bentancur, legal government name. And I'm not sure when, because obviously I was born, I didn't have full conscience, but my mother informed me years later on in my life that the doctor said there was too much waters in my testicles. And if you want to skip this part, it's fine. I might put a warning before or maybe afterwards, but it's part of life, that there was too much waters in my testicles and that they needed to remove one or something like that. I'm not a doctor or a surgeon. Basically, the situation was already bad. Given the fact I was already born, I already was born with that problem already. Only prophesizing, only symbolic to what I would face in the future and what kind of problems and what kind of life I was already paved into. Already, like foreshadowing it already from there on. And, my mom used her faith and I was healed miraculously. And I will keep this timeline strictly related to my time in the church, to all stages of it. I don't have a high budget to be like producing like those high quality videos and edits and all these things like other people do. But what I will do is acknowledge those things. So we skip forward to when I was in the CBC, Children's Biblical Center, which is basically where the teacher, usually an assistant from the church, they take care of the children, basically, not the newborns. I'm not sure about the infants. I would say like maybe toddlers before heading into their teens, more or less. Years have changed and the policies have changed. So like I don't know what the age range is now. I have no clue. I was basically there for a long time till I got to like I don't know. I want to say 9 years old. And I remember my brother and his friend that he made, friend that would go to church too. That he bonded over. They were in what we would call PT force, which is pre-teen force. That's what the PT stands for. Now, of course, it's called TPG, just Teen Power Group, if I'm not mistaken. It's kind of like the YPG, Youth Power Group. And so my brother and his friends and many of the other boys and girls that were already older than me were in that group. Or like they had their own separate class, their own separate teacher. And I know God used the assistant because he saw something in me that nobody saw. Not even I did, especially in that time. Especially in that stage in my life. I wouldn't say career, but in my ministry, I guess. That I don't want to say promoted, but I was given the opportunity to join, to be part of PT Force. And that rubbed my brother the wrong way. I guess because I was in my stage where I was kind of a brat, I was kind of annoying, given how I was. Or maybe it was pride. Maybe, and to this day, I still don't know. It rubbed them the wrong way. Some of the kids didn't like it. It didn't sit well with them. It did not sit well with really much anybody. And I remember, my mom was really proud of me. My CBC teacher was really proud of me. I felt really happy. I felt really, motivated to take that opportunity. I felt loved and supported, like the people received me. I felt received from that store. And I didn't care really if it rubbed people the wrong way. I still don't. Never have, never will. And I went on there and I went on to do big things. I went on to understand what they were teaching. Not just from the events that they would do every month, but if not, everything in general. You know, taking things, taking your life seriously with God more. Because all things considered, I mean, at that age, you kind of already know what lie is already. You already know what sin is in the sense of like the bad things what you shouldn't do, like talking back or fighting or starting problems. As that age, 9 years old, you're not really innocent that much anymore. And moving fast forward, I was in person because there wasn't really a church in New Brunswick at all. Since my brother's miracle, my miracle, and my time in TPG and all those events, it was in person boy because there was no church. I remember we had to take a bus from New Brunswick to Perth Amboy, and it would take about an hour. And in my mind, I didn't like it because it took forever. But now looking in retrospect, I can understand that it was mainly because of the stops. The bus makes a lot of stops. I guess because it legally has to, so the other people have the chance, to hop in as well. And I remember that one big scary bridge that the bus driver would always drive on. Like the water was there. I always had that irrational fear of like sinking. I don't know. I was really dumb. And for a while, it was like that. You know. Again, I'm not gonna go into my personal life, all the details and all that. Maybe on a separate video. I don't know. But for now, I'm just covering these events. And I want to say moving forward to, I want to say 2014 or maybe even earlier, sometime around spring of 2024. I mean 2024, 2014. The Universal Church was inaugurated in New Brunswick City. I remember the altar was only like, I want to say like 3 inches of wood with like with carpet coating of carpet. I don't know if I worded that right, but the whole floor was carpet. And so when they made that altar, it was like I want to say like 5 inches maybe above the ground, and it was wood. You could tell. I never went on the altar. It's holy. You don't just go there. That's just because it's the pastor's place, but it's holy. You don't just go there just to go there. I always saw the altar as something holy. They don't just go there. Not even as a kid, I even like mess with it. Sometimes you see kids running around, sitting on the altar, throwing a ball, throwing their balloons there. Nothing wrong with that. They're kids. They don't know. Like I never really understood because like the altar is always something big to me. Like the understanding of it, the sanctification behind it, everything was like holy behind it, and it was more to it. And I have these pictures I can present when I was in TPG, and I'll have more pictures as I put this video together. I guess we'll have to see. We'll have to pray that it works out well. But basically, man, I already forgot what I was talking about. This happens a lot. Oh yeah, the church was inaugurated. Pastors started coming there. The same deal. Like they were there for a while and then got switched and got switched. And I'll be honest with you, I guess from that early boost confidence that I got from my TPG experience in Perth Amboy, and not just, I never really taken God serious. I never really had like a serious life with God. Like I would go every now and then. 'Cause my mom would make me. I love my mom. Sometimes I would give her props, but even in my most rebellious, mischievous, whatever you want to call it, stage of my life, I love my mom, and I didn't just do it to support her because I did it because I know it would make her happy. I know it would make her proud going to church. So I always went as a kid. I always kept going with her everywhere. Even outside of church, I would go with her to the supermarket. I would go to the laundry. I would go everywhere. I love my mom. And time passed. Time passed. We're jumping from 2014 to 2020. We're still not a firm member of the church, a firm youth, firm teen, whatever. So we moved to 2020. I come. I'm not gonna put the pastor's name. Out of confidence and out of respect. But there was this one pastor that he came back, obviously. I came back because I noticed my mom would always come back to church. Like she would frequently go like on Wednesdays, Fridays, like she would go firm. And I'm convinced it was the Holy Spirit because sometimes my mom would tell me, she would sometimes press me. I'm not saying she would ever hit me or whip me because I didn't go or I didn't listen to her in that respect. But one time I saw like, Mom, I was like, what you like? You're always going to church. I'm gonna go too. Like it's been a long time. I guess I was reminiscing the days where I used to go a lot. And I went. I remember they had the mini series. Mini series is basically like those little strong videos that they put. It's like 4 or 5 minutes. It's narrated. It's like it's basically a small video, like a package video, I guess. I don't know what you want to call it. That usually relates to like a topic and usually of what the pastor's gonna say or what the video covers itself. Because sometimes it's a series of like 5 videos, 7 videos, and then they make another mini series. That's why they call it mini series. Officially, that's how it's known as. And I remember it being Alerta de la Salvación, and that really got my attention. The signs, the prophecies being completed from Revelation, it being the end of the world, we're living in that stage, and that woke me up inside. Not saying I was like terrified or shook, I couldn't sleep after that, no. But I started going more. I started going more and more and more to church, like very, very often. As often as I could. And then my pastor that was still there, he discipled me. Sometimes we would go to Chipotle, we eat together. Who discipled me? I couldn't even tell I was being discipled. I guess that's how good it was. I don't know. Excuse me. Remember I got baptized with that pastor. Excuse me. And that baptism didn't really count, because nothing inside me really changed. But I did it because I don't know. I guess I felt pressure too, not by anybody, but because of the situation of the end times. And I just felt like the need to do it. I felt the need to do it. And, unfortunately, uh, I was brought to the idea because I always wondered, like, how did all these pastors come from? Where did they all come from? I never really understood it well at all. Because I was introduced to it. I remember I went to Newark, and basically, little by little, they started teaching me more. I started going like I want to say weekends, I think. And more or less, no, more or less. And then I want to say the pandemic started, the coronavirus pandemic started, which was like in March, mid-March, I think. I know other countries shut down at that time, but it took a while for like the United States. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Donald Trump was under the presidency. It took a while. I remember in the beginning of March, we were like hearing about it like in school. They were like, it wasn't that serious, and then it became serious because everything went to lockdown. Everything became virtual school, homeschool, whatever you want to call it. And at that point, I was already in Newark. So I was basically participating in my classes, my computer throughout the day, in the sanctuary. I don't know how you want to say in English. The room where everybody goes, they sit down and the pastor preaches. And I was there at that point. I was like all in. I full sender. I was there all day, all night. I slept there. And unfortunately, I didn't really take care of myself. Like I didn't really ever look to seek the Holy Spirit. I never really, because I was there. I didn't have the Holy Spirit. I was there. I guess to give up the program. To assume that that call. I believed in it, and I still do, you know. And I I remember I didn't really take care of myself well, and then I don't know, I just got motivated little by little. I don't want to say I planned it, but I was like preparing myself for like the eventual day that I wanted to say I didn't want this anymore. I'm out. And granted, I wasn't mistreated. I wasn't disrespected, not at all, not by anybody. Sure, sometimes I had to be called my attention, but like in every work, in every job, especially in stuff that you don't know, of course you're gonna be called attention. You don't know. Makes sense, you know. And a while, I the party. I wasn't really coming to church anymore. Not even back in New Brunswick. I went back to New Brunswick. And I was in Newark. I want to say like maybe like 6 months, maybe 3 months, give or take. And I came back to New Brunswick. I was living with my mom. And I'm not gonna really get into too much detail into my love life or my family life, but just moving on to the events, like everything in the church. Slowly, little by little, I started going back again. And then I was obviously going to church. Now, skipping forward, I want to say maybe 2021 or maybe 2022. I'm confident that was 2022 in August 7th. I will never forget that day. Sometimes pastors press me like, "Oh, you don't remember the day you received the Holy Spirit?" I remembered everything I was wearing, everything. Okay, cool. I don't have a bad memory. I pray to God, help me, God, to remember the things I should, you know, not just yeah, combos for 2K, for Fortnite. I gotta play. No, I want to remember the stuff that's actually useful, especially for my salvation, especially for the eternity. And so I remember I went to this one YPG event. I don't remember the name of it. I want to say I do, but I'm not sure. I think it had something to do with an expo, or it had something to do with a music talent show or movie presentation. And then the pastor pulled me to the side. Like at that time, it was the second, and he asked me. I didn't talk to him. I didn't really like. Can I say it? I didn't really know him at all. I never spoke with this man. I never spoke with this pastor. And he pulled me to the side and he told me like, "Yo, are you down?" I'm just paraphrasing. I'm not quoting. I'm paraphrasing more or less what he said. Like, are you willing to come here every weekend? This was in Union City once the national headquarters used to be in Newark. Now it's in Union City, and it still is to this date. And he asked me like, "Are you willing to come here every weekend?" It's like, of course, because in the most profound, like in the bottom of my soul, I still loved it. I love the souls. I loved attending people, and sure, sometimes it was sacrifices to go to sleep late and not see your family, and all the deal, the package that comes with it all. And I was willing to, and I did. At that time, I want to say I was in either junior year or senior. Had to be senior year, 'cause I was already gonna graduate the what's it called? That year of 2022. And you know, the campaign came up that comes every 2 times a year, usually in early July and early November. Usually you have the whole month of July and the whole month of December. I will never forget it. That campaign was on Mount Carmelo. I don't know how to say it in Spanish. In English. I may have botched that trying to say it, but I remember that was the first time I was interested, because there were many times before where I'd done it and I sold my computer. I sold things I hurt, things I did have my heart in. But I remember just selling everything I had. Old phones, phone cases. Even people were helping me out to sell stuff, like in my family. Even my mom told me about this one lady who was giving all these old phone cases. Like, I was trying to do everything. If I wasn't selling on Facebook Marketplace, I was selling on Mercari. If I wasn't selling on Mercari, I was on French Street in front of the supermarket next to Louis Street and between Harvey Street, that one supermarket. Everybody knows that's owned by a Chinese person. In Spanish, they say El Chino. I'm trying to be racist, and I love the Asian people. I really do. But I was there with my table that I asked the pastor at the time if I could borrow the table, to do all that work, put in that work, and I sold and I sold. It was hot. Sometimes it was really hot. I was like getting thirsty. Even one of the members, brought me a soda. I think they brought me like a sandwich, but they definitely brought me a soda. Not because I asked them, not because I was trying to pity them or get them to feel bad for me. I was sacrificed. I was about that life. I was confident on August 17th. I even remember the event. I even kept it. It was Sunday of Come and See in Spanish. Domingo del Ven y Ve. The verse says, I try my best to translate it from first to English and then Spanish. It says, and Nathanael, he said, can something good come out of Nazareth? And Philip said to him, come and see. Spanish. Oh no, sorry. That was also in John 1:46. En Spanish, y Natanael le dijo, ¿puede algo bueno salir de Nazaret? Felipe le dijo, ven y ve. Juan 1:46. Still have it to this day. And I remember leaders changed at that time. Again, that can expose any other names, but he came on a Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. And I wasn't there because usually I come on Friday nights, Friday afternoons, and I stay there. Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday noon, or Sunday afternoon, more or less. So Friday I came and I met him before we did the vigil. And he asked me, he's like, what's up, Like, you received the Holy Spirit? I was like, yes, sir. And I kid you not, again, it wasn't the man who put me, but I felt loved, I felt received by God and by the man of God. He received me. He put me over. The wrestling term. Putting someone over is basically dropping someone's reputation of always winning and looking good to make the other person look good. To, match usually. In this case, he put me over by sometimes talking about me in the service. Not that I need that, not that I need it to stroke my ego. I always remember what Bishop Macedo says, I prefer to be rebuked than to be, groomed. To be, complimented. What's the word? I can't think of it right now at this moment, but you know what I mean? To be favored, And I get that, but in that moment, it felt good, of course. And moving forward, he gave me opportunities. I could go into this church, I could go into Passaic. I was there for like a week, I think. I went to Newark maybe like twice, I want to say. I went to Union City like 2 or 3 times. I didn't really ever go to my church as an auxiliary. I want to quote, e-board. He lifted me up as an e-board. Following that night when I told him that news. And, things started looking up. Things, escalated. I remember, I think I was in Newark. That was my last church that I was in before I went back to, before I went ever, to this place I'm gonna say. I was getting my haircut, I kid you not. I think it was like, as soon as I was gonna sit down, I was already sitting down. The barber was getting ready. And the pastor, now he's a bishop, called me. He was like asking like, yo, Christian, what's up? Hey, yo, I was like, nothing, sir. Everything's all good. And he popped the question, like, you got the passport? Everybody in the work of God already knows what that means. I was like, yes, sir. He was like, is this a good time? It was like, because he heard the clipper, the buzzing sound from the clipper the barber had. And so he understood. I was like, no, sir. I was like, okay, call me back when you have an opportunity. After I got my haircut, I went back to the church and I called. Then he told me that bishop, at that time, bishop in charge of the country, wanted five auxiliaries, five single, dudes, five single men, to go to Puerto Rico because they're gonna start the television channel. And he said, "I thought of you because you're strong. I know you're a lion, to encourage me, to motivate." I was like, "Are you willing to go? Are you in that faith of here I am?" In Spanish, heme aquí. If you don't know that, that's where Abraham told to God, It's like, here I am, that willingness he has. That's why he was known as Father of the Faith. Long story short, I accepted. He gave me a few days off. Few days to prepare myself, to depart myself from my family, so I could stay with them before I go to Puerto Rico. And I went, and it was a blessing. I remember it was a Saturday night on October 13th or 16th of 2020, no, 2022. Yes. And I remember the pastor picked me up. It was on Saturday night. I stayed in the sede over there in Carolina. It's not North Carolina or South Carolina. For those mistaken, it's in Puerto Rico, so there's a place called Carolina. Technically, it was not Carolina because it was actually San Juan. That's the confusing thing about the Puerto Rican map. I never really understood. And so basically, I got switched, because there was five, and all stayed there in the national headquarters, got to help out the other churches. I remember my first church in Puerto Rico that I went to go help a pastor. It was in Arecibo. Never forget that place. The experiences, the hardships I felt. And one important note, I was still, how can I say? I want to say there were still like times that I knew that I was very mature, that I didn't like work on myself. And I knew I was gonna make me problems. One of them was talking back. But sometimes my pastor would rebuke me, and he would rebuke you in the level of a military. Maybe not getting up in your face or saliva in your face, whatever, that hard of a scream, but he would scream at you senseless. Sometimes even his own wife, he would do that. And you could ask any other people that worked with him, and he's like that. So he jokes around a lot though, but he's a cool man, he's very nice. He's humble, he's respectful. And I didn't really get that much because I was still new, The word that they used to describe me at that time was raw, like a raw egg. It makes sense. I was still fresh, I was a newbie, a greenie, a Maze Runner reference. And basically, it didn't really last that well. I didn't last that much time. It turns out that he turned me back to the national headquarters over there in Puerto Rico, which was in Carolina. And to this day, I never really know what he told Pastor. I guess he told them that he preferred to be alone. I don't know. I understand I did get problems, but people really didn't have patience with me. They kind of gave up on me. And you'll notice that's a pattern throughout this time. And so I went to Carolina. Then after some time, I went to Caguas. And Pastor received me well. He kind of got the gist of the situation. I remember even the second telling me, "This is your last chance." Like if he has that word to decide, only God does. But I guess he kept saying, "No, this is your last chance. This is your last chance." I was like, "All right, whatever." I didn't say that to him, but in my mind, I was thinking like, I wasn't put here by man, so he's not gonna decide my fate right now, here and now. And so I went to Caguas, and things were pretty chill for a time. But then sometimes I had problems with the past, and sometimes talk back. I don't. I wanna think 'Cause I have to be honest, no. Most of the times we didn't have problems. At least in my understanding, we didn't have any problems. We worked well together. We had food bank together, so that was basically our generator for souls. That's how many people. That's the way we made it work. That's why so much people kept coming. And it was tough there 'cause I didn't have a bathroom. Same with Arecibo, there was no bathroom. Arecibo had to like buy like a water pump with a sprinkler. So basically, I filled a bucket with water and I would put the pump there. Then I would mount the sprinkler on the wall, and I would basically shower like that. In Caguas, it was kind of like that, but the pastor already had one there. So basically, I did it in the bathroom with a big storage. I don't want to say unit, but a bin. That was basically my shower tub, my bathtub. And I showered, and sometimes the water would sprinkle on the floor, and I would have to mop. And we didn't have that much problems, but one problem that I did have that I still know was that since I guess one time I kind of went too far. It was because he gave me liberty access to the food bank in the kitchen. He treated me well. I wasn't a kid. He didn't treat me like a kid. He treated me like an adult. He treated me like for what I was. And one time I did. I overdid it. I slept pretty late, and I didn't clean up my stuff in the kitchen. And that was basically what rubbed the passer wrong way. And the next day, I woke up late. Passer came, and I was still sleeping, which is embarrassing. It's something you never want to happen, because it stays on your record. Even if people are cool, they pass that information. Unfortunate. And he got mad. He got mad. He locked the room, and so basically he got me a mini fridge for my room. And every time the wife prepared the food for me, they would have it for me only in my room. Okay, I had no more access at all, and I didn't like that. They rubbed me the wrong way. And I told the leader at that time, who was in charge of the country, charge of the universal church in that country. I forgot what else I told him, but I did tell him about the fridge, and I didn't like that. Like how it was locked, and I needed help. And kid you not, like after a few minutes, or maybe not a few hours, my no wait, my pastor called me, and he came to pick me up at 4 in the morning or 3 in the morning. At that time, they were doing a walk in purpose of the campaign. If I'm not mistaken, it was a 318. I don't know how to say his name. Perion. I don't want to say Gideon, like that dude from YouTube. But I mean, like, the biblical hero, the character. Not a character, but he's a real person. And he picked me up. Wasn't too happy about it. But I mean, I guess I thought things were cool. I did do him dirty though. I understand. I kind of screwed him over. I'll admit it, I screwed him over by snitching on him with the leader. And it may have not been something that bad. I wasn't lying about what he did, but it was childish, but at least I didn't lie. And I remember that one Friday vigil that we had on the sede when my pastor from Caguas came to bring me my stuff that I left behind because I didn't finish packing properly. He threatened me. I remember in the parking lot when I went to go get my stuff from his car, more or less, he got mad at me. He's like, you could tell Pastor so-and-so about me. You could tell him about this. I don't care. He got in my face. That was something in front of God. Even he knows that night. That was not right for him to do that. He got in my face. He was really mad. It was like basically like threatening me. Like, I don't care if you tell Pastor. He was basically promising to make my life a living hell if I were to do something like that, or I don't know. He was tripping though. So I moved on from there, and I stayed in Carolina like a few days, I think. I want to say like 2 weeks. I have all the timestamps here. I think it's better for me to even pull it up too, because all these things that I'm saying right here is because it all happened. It happened. Oh no, no, no. I went to after I screwed over that pastor from Caguas. I didn't go to Catalina. I went directly to Santurce for the first time on June 26th of 2023. But then Friday we have the vigil. Usually it's like that in every state. Like there's a vigil. All the all the churches come to the headquarters, to the sede. And basically that's what happened, and that's why he threatened me that day. And I thought Santurce was going to be great. It looked like a promised land. It wasn't that big of a church. I mean, that wasn't going to be too tired. I know that sounds kind of wrong, but given my situation of the heat and practically like carrying boxes and doing all that heavy work in Caguas, I kind of needed like a de-stressing, stage where I could like I can still serve like at a less stressful efficiency, so I could like start to recover again and gain more energy, basically. And I thought it was gonna be promising. It looked promising. My passer was pretty well rounded. But then something just snapped. Passer was always on me. I couldn't even use the bathroom. Homie was texting me, "Where are you?" I couldn't even take a deuce without this man calling me and getting mad that I didn't answer. Reason why I don't like taking calls in the bathroom because it's very echoey, so it's hard for the person to understand. Sometimes even hard for me to hear them too, with AirPods or even speaker or the speakers on the what's it called, on the phone itself. Not just putting the call on speaker, but just putting on your ear like type speakers. And sometimes I can really understand in the bathroom. It I still had that problem. No, where I no talk back. I that was mainly my main issue though. That's what was bringing me a lot of problems. It's talking back, especially when you're getting my attention called. I remember this pastor, every time he would call my attention, for some weird reason, he would always bring me to his office. And so that church was basically made up of three floors. First floor, is the sanctuary room where like the service is done. Second floor is the pastor's office, and then the control room for the studio itself, the radio room, the kitchen that the auxiliary gets, the auxiliaries room, which I like to call a closet. It was really small. And then they inaugurated this new room, which is where the wives go to count the offering. It wasn't always like that because back then there wasn't really what's it called? There wasn't the auxiliaries room or the offering office, however it's called. But we had to make a wall because adjustments were being made. The radio was being introduced, which shortly lasted a few months. And with the TV did last longer, but there was just not enough funds. It's tough. It was bittersweet. And that pastor many times, like, I don't know, like, sir, I was in the wrong too, of like being uh, disrespectful and what's it called? And talking back, that's definitely not justified whatsoever. I was wrong. But that pastor many times treated me like a kid, many other times like humiliated me. Many a times like would say that the number of people I was generating in my service is a misery. In Spanish, una miseria. And so it was tough. And many of the times he would treat me like garbage. And when the main pastor came, the leader, started treating nice. He was basically the teacher's pet. He was kissing up to the boss. Everybody saw that. And unfortunately, sometimes you see that a lot. And I'm not saying that like being malicious, like trying to find that. You see it. You don't have to try. You just see it. In every state you go, everywhere you go, there's always people like that. And things just didn't work out. And little by little, people kept saying, Christian, you have to start thinking, are you the problem? Or all five, four said pastors are the problem? Basically, that manipulation trick, them not knowing the full situation and them not admitting that they did wrong things. I did wrong things, but I don't have an attorney, I don't have a judge, I don't have anyone to help me out. And that's saying, but it is what it is. That's why this video is called Screwjob. That was, and of course, the the righteous live by the faith. They don't defend themselves. The sheep when they go to to get slaughtered, they don't even say anything. Same with Jesus when he went to the cross. The Bible says he was quiet when he went there. He was innocent. But Santurce really went from paradise to a nightmare quick. And to prove it, there was even another auxiliary that went there, and he saw that, and he got that same treatment from that past. Of course, not as bad as I did with him, but you saw most of the times that pastor was in the flesh. He was not right. Most of the times, he was very hypocritical. I remember one time he said that he made breakfast for us, and he didn't, because he never made breakfast for us. They never did. Not even once, I think. And that's considering how early we had to wake up for the TV. Sometimes 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning. At one point, even 5 in the morning. So it was excruciating. Knowing that I was doing CGs. At one point, I was doing CGs, taking care of the radio, taking care of the sanctuary, like attending people who come in, doing purposes, doing calls, evangelizing in the streets. Usually he would send me to this one hood nearby the church. He would send me there. The projects near the church, 15 minutes walking. And I would do all that. It was tiring. And my day off was short. It was usually it was given to me on Friday, considering that was the only day that didn't record anything. Normally auxiliaries don't get a day off on Friday. It doesn't make sense. Usually it's a Wednesday. And Wednesday you get kind of screwed over when there's an auxiliaries meeting. So basically your day off gets cut even short. Usually that's why some pastors have that consideration, so they give the auxiliary Mondays off. When I say screwed over, I mean it's a blessing, the conference, but in the context of resting, it really, really interfered with that heavily if your day off was on Wednesday. And basically the pastor was always pressing me, wanting me at 6 p.m. So I didn't really have a full day off on Friday. I was tired. My back was tired. Sometimes, and considering that they had a laundry room on the third floor they never let me use, I had to literally wash my clothes. And since I use the dry clean service, because I am not going to be in the laundromat 3 hours, 2 hours, knowing that I have a short day off and I'm tired from all that work, work, a week work, I can tongue twister, a 1 week of tiredness and work. I'm not about to do that. So I would drop it off. Usually I would have let the pastor know, like next day I would go and pick it up. Or when he would send me to evangelize after I was done, I would go from Walmart in the laundromat. The dry clean that was inside Walmart. I would go and pick it up. So I'd make sacrifice. I could not rest well. And things just didn't work out well. He always kept threatening me to call pastor, to call pastor. He was gonna call pastor, he was gonna call pastor on me. So it was a nightmare. I'm saying, you wanna go back to New Jersey? You wanna go back to New Jersey? Unfortunately, even recording this audio on May 3rd, 2025, I'm back in New Jersey. Not in good terms. Unfortunately, I've been kicked out. So I went to Santurce and it just didn't work well. It was that bad because the pastor didn't want to get rid of me. I don't know if I was valuable to him, it's because I was helping out a lot too in the TV and in the radio. Because the one guy that he counted on, and they treated definitely better than me. At least slightly. better than me. They treat him, they respect him. They even let him participate in pastors' meeting. They would never let me participate in any of their conferences that they had in the week. That was also one of my big issues with work. Some people call it entitlement pride. I call it investing in the future. Because if they say that we're the future, the ones that are entering and all that, where's the investment? There is investment, sure. There's meetings on Wednesdays every 2 weeks for the singles, for the auxiliaries. Okay. But what about all the information you guys are absorbing week by week? Sir, I'm not taking care of a church, but it could benefit me, my supposed invisible ministry. But whatever. So eventually, things got really bad, and I couldn't stay there anymore. I remember the pastor reunited both of the pastors, and they gave like one of the most sorriest apology, well, fakest apology I've ever seen. Because the pastor, the leader, was right there in the office. It got serious at the point where we all got pulled into the office. And everyone was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Christian, for all the things I did." Yeah. How come you didn't say sorry when you saw me throwing up in a toilet and ignored me and continued to do everything else as it follows? Because you were putting all this to work when both of us were there. Both auxiliaries were there, me and the other guy. And you saw that I was on all fours, throwing up in the toilet, or like at least getting ready because I was really nauseous. Context, I was nauseous. I was not actually throwing up. But even then, he saw me. He did not care. He did not care. Most of the things he did not care. But to press me and to humiliate me, that he did care. Seemed like a slave that he did care. And I'm saying all of this coming up as resentment, grudge. No, I forgive him, but it all goes back to the school job. Where everything was dealt with my case. They got rid of it. And sure, biblically speaking, you know, I don't know how to say it in English. I'll probably put a text there of what I'm trying to say. But biblically speaking, el trigo y la cizaña are allowed to grow. And by the end, the fruits will be revealed, and you'll see the cizaña is false. And it gets cut, sure. But that thing I was screwed over because it was done way too early. And it was done abruptly. So I went to buy a more. Pastor there. Funny enough, it was a pastor who inaugurated my church in New Brunswick. I want to say like 9 years ago. It was 10 years ago because it was like 2024 when I was there with him. I went to buy a moon in May 17th of 2024. Pastor sometimes had a mood, but most of the times he was chill, he was understanding. His wife would attend me. She would give me some good food, good breakfast. She mommed me up, and she treated me like a mom. Things were looking well. And even when I one time made this mistake, I remember the pastor even yelled at me in front of the youth, which is nothing new when you're in the work. I moved on, I took it like a champ, then I talked back. And I learned from my mistakes to not talk back. But it got to the point where I got accused by his wife one time. And that's with them already threatening me already beforehand that, "Oh, I'm gonna call. Pastor said, this is your last chance, this is your last chance. You already screwed up with the others." It's the same story I was hearing. That's why at that point I did not care. Because I knew where my faith was and I knew who put me in the work. I know who called me, I know who I served and who I'm still serving, which is my Lord Jesus. So, because I gave him the silent treatment, I was that pissed off with them, both of them. And because the wife accused me of, I don't even remember what. I'll be honest, it was definitely silly. Because I apparently didn't want to help her escorting a man in a wheelchair. And that's not true. Because I was attending the youth, and the youth, you already know how the youth are after service, especially the Sunday service. They leave. But I got the youth, and I saw that she was pressing me at the time that I was attending the youth. I was talking to them. I was doing, I guess you could say, the conexión, the connection. And so I sent the collaborator, and I rubbed her the wrong way. And I think he did go, okay, I didn't think I ended up doing it. He didn't go, and he called my attention in front of everyone. He was like, Auxiliary, if you don't want to be called attention, just do the things when they're asked. So he got very authoritative, very, very. I want to say prideful. But that's the thing, though. That's the things about wives that when they're married with pastors, they sometimes think they could do the stuff that they do, especially when someone's beneath them. There's the auxiliary, the kid, me in that situation. Basically, I was screwed over in that situation. She went to her husband. You know how women are. They tell their problems to the pastor, especially in our case. When they see, apparently, they see defiance and they see rebellion. So in that case, in that context, there was no rebellion on my end. And so pastor got mad. Came to me, was like slamming the door, slamming on his fist on the table that normally I would stay in the sanctuary taking care of the church, taking care of everything. And I just ignored him. And then he pressed me, he gave me the ultimatum, the classic ultimatum sandwich. 2 for 1, special. Buy one, get one free, special. And he pressed me and he told me to call. He was on the call, Pastor. I was like, in my mind, I was like, do it. And he did. Apparently, Pastor never did anything of that sort. But then I remember another situation arose where he called him again. And I'm trying my best. I'm fighting hard to remember, because, ladies and gentlemen, we gotta call it how it is. Everything that was done. From my end, from their end, everything. Everything. And things just didn't work out well with him, When Bishop came to the country after being going to the Temple of Solomon, because that's where the petitions were being presented after the campaign of that year, of the mid-year, which I said it's mid-year and end of the year until we do it. Apparently, I was switched. I was months and months. I found out that pastor didn't like me. He told the pastor that he preferred to be alone than to have me. That I gave him problems, and that one really hurt. That one really stung, because throughout those months he would tell me, Christian, you could stay here. You're not a problem to me at all. And he goes and puts that steel chair behind my back. That is messed up. How can you possibly sleep it? Especially now, even knowing these news, pretty sure everything, especially the bad news, always goes traveling fast. That they got rid of me from the work. How can you be fine knowing that you said those things to me and then you go and do that to me? I guess it's payback, for how I did that pastor from Caguas Dirty. But basically, they were already planning on how to fully get rid of me, from the work, for good, for good. So I went back to Santurce, and it's a new pastor. It was a whole new roster change after that bishop came in July, more or less, give or take. Can't really remember what day it was of July. I want to say it was 1st. I don't remember. And there was a whole pastor's roster change. Everybody switched. I went to Santurce again for the 3rd time. It was at 11 at night. Sorry. After Bayamon, I went to Carolina on September 17th of 2024. I'm sorry. Before I went to Carolina, a pastor got changed, so he came to my church. And at that point, I was feeling unmotivated. I saw that many of the times they didn't let me go to Thursdays with them in the pastors' meeting. I saw that many times they're very hypocritical on that, because when I was in Carolina, they would always leave me take care of the church, and the others who weren't pastors, who weren't taking care of churches, they would let them go to Santurce for the meeting, which I thought was unfair. It rubbed me the wrong way. I never saw any pastor vouch for me or consider me or invite me, or say, "Oh, can Christian come?" No, nobody cared about me in that situation, at that level. It's just fine. It is what it is. Because when I went to do the work. I saw each and every one of those as my family. I thought we were the bloodline. I thought we were the judgment day. I thought we were carrying the gold together. You know, those people were my family. I was always an outsider to them. I was never really their family, given how they treated me, how they excluded me. Oh, Christian, you're too sentimental. How can I not be? I'm a human being. And I was born with maybe a bit too more sentiments, I guess, than a man normally does and can handle. I don't know. But it was not right. And I got motivated at the level where I just didn't really want to do anything anymore. I didn't want to do the house of prayers anymore because in my mind, I got so discouraged that like I can never do anything big. I can never do anything interesting. I can never test out my full potential because that's what I was trying to do these 2 years, especially in Puerto Rico. I was trying to test my potential of my calling, and I never got that. I didn't get to go Thursdays. I didn't get to be in the meetings. I didn't be in the. I didn't even get to join the conference meetings that they joined throughout the week. I barely was promoted for alongside with the other pastors when they did the prayer for the walk for the campaign. I'm not even in the signature. I'm not in the Facebook profiles. I'm not on the cover of anything. I'm not on any show. I'm not on. I didn't even get my own TV show to get to do any TV program like how the others get to do. Even the youngest ones got to do one. I never got to do any of that. I was barely pushed. You know what? I should have been on that TV program. I know how to talk to the people. I know how to engage to them, even if I'm nervous, and it doesn't matter. But basically, I got to a situation where I could not be there because, my pastor kind of like snitched on me of all those unmotivation, words that I kept passing on to the leader at that time, which was Switch, and they decided for me to go back to Carolina again. And then from there on, from Carolina, I stayed like 2 months from September 17th to November 15th. So I went to Santurce, and it was pretty well. It was pretty peaceful. I want to say, it was like the first church I left without any problems. But little did I know what was going on throughout that whole time. I only came to find out once I got moved. When I went to Caguas on November 15th of 2024, I found out that my pastor kept checking up on me all the time. Even though I didn't have that much friends, not because I was playing it safe, but he already saw the timeline here, how many times I was getting screwed over. So I had to be very selective on my friends. Very, very. And so I found out, my friend told me that the pastor from when I was in Santurce kept asking me if I was talking bad about him, if I was doing any of that. And I saw it took a toll on my friend. Not that he was speaking badly about him either, but he saw and I saw it was childish. Like if I really am doing something, like why didn't the pastor ever ask me? I'm obligated to tell the truth, aren't I? I have the Holy Spirit. I'm a pastor. I'm an auxiliary. I'm supposed to tell the truth. Why not ask me if something was wrong? But I remember on my final confrontation with the leader over there in Puerto Rico, when I told him that, of course, he backed him up and he defended him. Which is fine, it's something that they have to do. It's a business model. You have to protect your associates, your colleagues. Whatever. I don't care anymore. And so I went to Caguas and zero problems with Pastor from there. It was good. Fortunately, he had to get switched because he had some legal issues to attend to, so I didn't really get that much time with him. I only got like a month, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks with him, 4 weeks. And so I went on March 28th of 2025 was the San Juan Screwjob. When I went to Carolina for the last time. In full context, I had received this information that you could send Bishop an email. Like for any situations, any needs. I thought it was cool because usually, the hierarchy is like this. Whoever's at the head of the table, you never really can contact them. I don't know why. It's like a head honcho or something. It's like complicated. I think it's more complicated than the mafia. to like communicate with the head pastor, head bishop, or whoever is in charge. And so like it's kind of like that, you know. But I have the email pulled up, and I will do my best to translate it right now to English. He said, "Good morning or good afternoon, Mr. Bishop, sir. I don't know who's gonna read this. The reason why I said that, because I don't know if his pastors read it or he reads it. I don't know. Who reads this message? My name is Christian. I'm an auxiliary. I wanted to receive an advice or an orientation regarding my health. I suffer with heat, with like my skin being easily irritated and affected by the heat. I start getting skin problems, and even with the cold. And I told him, and I easily get dizzy from the heat in my head. And I know that we have to sacrifice and we have to have that disposition, you know, that here I am, Abraham faith, you know, and for your calling of God, you know, that you have to be willing to sacrifice all, pay the price, you know, all that jazz. But I don't know what to do. Never in that moment in this letter did I ever say I give up or I don't want anymore. But I just told him I don't know what to do given that situation. I'm in Puerto Rico right now. I tried talking to my leader, my pastors, and they don't. Wait, hold on. Yeah, and I said I had no response. That's when my pastor, my leader, took it personal because he, in his mind, in his heart, he was using his heart at that time. He thought that I meant like he never talked to me at all. He never gave me any speech, any encouragement, and he did. He really did. But what I'm saying is, like, in regarding to my health, I even have the text pulled up. In my final confrontation with said pastor, I even sent him the text. It was like, I'm busy, and I believe him. He's like, you should have called me. But usually he always responds with a text, and I let time pass by. When I sent said pastor that text about my health, and he never responded. It was, let me see. It was on March 11th. So March 11th to March 28th. Ladies and gentlemen, March 11th to March 28th. How many days is that? That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 days, approximately 3 weeks, 2 weeks, and 4 days. And I seen this pastor. He even came to my church, and God was to do this event that he was doing with all the pastors, like praying for the people. Never once did he address that situation. Maybe it passed by his mind. I don't know. Basically, that's what I meant. Regarding to that message I sent him, he never responded. I guess I should have been more specific because my pastor at the time took it personal. But whatever, I know there's misunderstandings. And I said, and I told, yeah, I even said raise it, but I had no response. And I loved the work and I loved the souls. When I was given the opportunity to go to Puerto Rico, I said to God, here I am. And I went even knowing that it was going to do harm to me because of the heat. And here, friend of Puerto Rico when I was still there, is a blessing. Maybe I'll be called the attention for doing this. Usually get the attention. And that happened to me once when I messaged my leader and my pastor at the time when I was in St. Louis. He took it personally. He got mad. He's like, respect the hierarchy. So, you know, sometimes it's sentiments like that, you know, they get thrown in the way and manipulated. I get that there's a hierarchy, but what's the point of people saying, contact me if you need anything, if you need help? Might as well not say that anymore. It's like when people say, you know, like, at any time, call me. And you call them and then they end up behind your back saying, oh, this person called me. You know? It's like that situation. And said, I was gonna be called attention, and I'm not perfect, and I'm subject to commit errors, and I never was an assistant of the church. I had to learn more and had to be sincere. I gave problems, referring to me talking back. I didn't tell Bishop that, but you know. But even if I did, it wouldn't really change anything. I gave problems. Sorry, suffice. I talked back. Oh no, he did say it. Hold on. I talked back and I complained. That's true. I complained a lot. It kept changing, and of course, that never got noted. It didn't get talked about, especially in that conference when I got screwed over. And I even had a pastor sending message and calling one of my companions, asking about me, to look for me, to try to find something on me, if I was complaining or talking bad about the work or him, but didn't find anything. And my companion told him that he would give me advice, would give me to help me better myself and better my life, and especially in the work. Even then, when the pastor was doing that while I was with him, under his leadership, under his care, behind my back, the pastor did that. Behind my back during that time, the pastor was doing it. It was an experience. It helped me be more strong and support more than I thought I could here in Puerto Rico. I learned to depend on God because I was away from my family. My ID is close to expiring, and it is. Unfortunately, I don't have any money. I don't have a job right now. I don't have anything. I'm struggling on that, but I am putting in the work. I'm seeking a job and praying on God to fix my bills. I'm behind debt, but even recording this video, I owe the credit card bills due tomorrow on May 4th, and I can't do anything. Only God. And so going back to that, my ID was about to expire in June. It's already May. I don't have a driver's license. I'm single. And even like that, I learned to trust in God. Even with my defects and bad decisions I have made in the past. God bless you. I know that you have a lot of things to do and fix. Maybe you don't, maybe you may not be able to reach or find out about this message or read it, but God knows that I have prayed and fought, and I have kept my look unto God. Thank you. That's what I said. And that's what caused the screw job. Because in that moment, even when I was talking about that pastor, I was not talking bad about him. The context is right here. I can probably even put the email. I could pick like screenshots of the email on this video as I edit it. But I got screwed over there. And since all my past sins finally came to charge me, there was even a time, I'll admit, there was a time that I came on to watch some adult videos on my phone while I was in the work of God. And I even confessed to the past, being scared to do it, but I had the courage to do it, and I was forgiven, and I was given a chance. This was like when I was in Carolina, the third time, not the fourth time when I was already sent off home. The third time in between September and October of, November of 2024. I confessed him. I worked through that. Never again did I do that. And so I got screwed over because they had this conference. They talked about all my mistakes from the past. And Bishop apparently said, that if it's a heat concern, if it's a health concern, I can't be in the work. There are many husbands, and I quote, many husbands and wives that are in places that, physically speaking, their health doesn't allow it, but they're there. But that wasn't always the problem, because I had sight problems. I couldn't see well. I had heat problems. My biggest problem, I guess, for me, that motivated me to send that email to try to get something was the fact that I was underused, underutilized. And I was sitting in catering. And I was being benched. And that was the tough part. I just couldn't take it anymore. And I had life with God. Through all this time when I talked about all the situations, I prayed to God. I went down the altar. And there's too much to cover on this video. It's already an hour. But just for you to understand, it was a lot that I went through. But nobody ever looked at what I changed, at the good stuff that I did. And that time when I was judged, I had no lawyer. I was screwed over and sent home. And I quote, since the higher authority, that bishop, decided that the pastors couldn't do anything for me. But you see, even before I got bishop involved, no one was doing anything. And I realized a long time ago, what I need, what I want, only God can give it to me. But during that time, I was just too frustrated. There was just no future. There was nothing. Nobody passed on anything that they were receiving to me. And it was just agonizing. Part of me just wanted to die because I was like, at this point, what am I doing? I'm just looking at empty chairs. So I look at the positives, at the YPG, at the discipling, growing services, but it's just not reaching my full potential of what I believed was my calling. I still believe, and it's gonna work out. I'm gonna get that Roman Reigns SummerSlam 2024 return. I'm not gonna lose again like how Cody lost on WrestleMania 39. I'm gonna get that sweet, satisfactory win on WrestleMania 49 too, when he defeated Roman on his 1,316 days as champion. And the reason why I'm putting all these dumb references is to help the people fathom, to get an idea on what I'm trying to say. I'm mentioning all these references. And so March 28th was the day I sent the email. March 28th, if we go on the calendar right here, right now, if I can find it, of course, March 28th was a Friday. So Friday, I immediately was, or Saturday, yeah, Friday night, because I sent the email in the morning, I think. Friday night, I went, and I had no problem with the pastor that went there too soon to church and he was cool. He was cool. I had no problems with him. Of course, he was like many who promised me that they were gonna find a girlfriend for me, but they never did. No one really ever like cared too much about that. Some did, some asked, but nobody really went that extra mile. The things I want from God, He can do. Nobody can do it. That's the lesson to be learned through that experiences of always being told. Even Bishop, when he went to Puerto Rico, he asked me, "Do you have a girlfriend?" And I was like, "No, sir." And he told to his pastor, he's like, "Get this man a girlfriend." Never got to it. Still haven't. So March 28th, I confronted Pastor. I put all on the table, all my past sins, my mistakes, the email, and we worked it out. We shook our hands, and he got me my flight. It wasn't me who bought it. It wasn't anybody. It was him. He bought it on his own account. And March 29th was when I got my ticket. I was already home back in New Jersey at 6 p.m. at night. And the rest is history. Started coming back to church, starting all again from zero from the get-go. And that, my friends, is the San Juan, is the complete story of the San Juan Screwjob. Because I was not given the opportunity to defend myself in that conference. All that was there was just men, information pulled up on me, my history, and them deciding. Which in some case, I guess it's fair, but given all these details, all these clips, all these things on how the obreros have done this, the pastors have done this to me, and we have pastors manipulate obreros to treat me like this. Many stories to tell. It wouldn't fit on this video. But God bless you all. Everything will work out. This is not hate speech. This is not malice. This is just the truth that most couldn't handle. When I tried telling it, people couldn't understand it. People kept saying the devil's playing minds, but I had to get it out.
Si nosotros dejamos que Dios trabaje, nos ponemos mansitos. Pero si no dejamos que yo trabaje, estamos soberbios.
Es que el pastor le dijo de auxiliar Cristian que no lo tratemos como auxiliar ni como pastor.
No nos digo nada.
Por eso me dijo el pastor a mí.
Ya yo creo que ya no está ahí.
¿Y cómo hay que tratar entonces?
No está ahí, pero
A mí,
pero no, Dios
yo ahí no. Yo hago mi parte como Dios me ayude. Porque es una gente que quiere servir a Dios también. Un alma. No, y si yo me pongo a tratarlo mal a él y después me viene otro y me trata mal a mí.
¿Y cómo que hay que tratar? ¿Cómo que quiere que lo
El
trate?
pastor no quiere decir que lo tratemos más, sino que no lo tratemos como auxiliar ni como pastor, pero hay que tratarlo con respeto porque también es un muchacho que está ayudando.
Yo lo trato como Dios me diga que lo trate.
¿Sabes? Porque es un alma y hay que cuidar de esa alma. Porque si esa alma se pierde. ¿Sabes? Es un muchacho todavía que hay que ayudarlo.
Ese puede ser un obispo ahorita, mañana.
Claro.
En el nombre del Señor Jesucristo.
Y lo va a hacer. Porque ella la pasa mucho.
Sí.
Muchas cosas pasan.
No, y la voz de él, cuando él ora, es como una voz de poder.
Es como yo le estaba diciendo ayer.
Y Dios lo va a ayudar.
Como yo estaba diciendo.
Él lo que tiene es que ser humilde, eso sí. Ser humilde todo el tiempo.
Con eso, ¿verdad? Pero Dios puede hacer trabajo.
Claro.
Hacer trabajo y nosotros hablar con él.
Ser humilde, porque después que tú eres humilde, Dios trabaja en uno.
Y aconsejarle, porque también le hace falta consejo también de madre, que sabemos cómo tratar los hijos, ¿tú entiendes?
Eso es lo que estoy diciendo de Martín. Martín.
No de Martín.
No, pero estoy diciendo de Martín que su mamá está trabajando mucho con él. Y eso ayuda también.
This is my story. This is my testimony. This is my life. This is not a game. This is not a joke. And I will come out on top. I will serve my God. Serving God, serving the souls, there's nothing better like it. Once I was introduced to that glory, to that situation, I don't want to go back. And that's a tough thing. I have to work now, I have to do all these things, but nothing like that fulfills that void, that calling, that purpose, like serving God and winning souls. So I know it's going to work out. I don't care about backlash or people have to say, but people have to get the facts straight. People have to say they did it their way, I did it my way. But once I do it my way with God, it's a wrap. No longer the big dog, no longer the guy. We're going into the tribal chief era. They will respect me. They will acknowledge me because they will see God. They will be forced to obey and acknowledge once they see God in me, and they have that. They see that. Many people tried supporting me. They didn't care about me supporting me back then. They're gonna try to support me once I'm the OTC. No, man, get out of here. Get out of here. No. I even created all these images, folletos, that never happened. All these events that never happened because I believed in myself and I believed that I could do it. That's the reason why I did it. I made all these fantasy events, all these things, all of it, because I believe in myself and I believe in my call. Even though I was being underpushed, I was being benched, I was sitting catering, not being used at all, while others were getting married young, others were getting opportunities. But now is my time. I refuse to die. I refuse to be 6 feet under the ground and not have lived up to a decent and honorable legacy that glorifies God. And we're going to change the game. Because the tribal chief changed the game. And just like people once told Roman, go away, they're going to one day chant, like how they chanted for Roman. We want Roman. They're going to chant that for me. Not in vanity, to self-exalt. Glorify and acknowledge God through me and my testimony. Because who else are they seeing here on earth? The humans. Me. You're going to see this and we're going to win. And God bless you. I love the Universal Church. I love all the bishops and the pastors. It is what it is at this point. I did get screwed over. And I have to move on. I have to clean that out of my heart. But, no hate against them. Go to them. That is where I got delivered. I was basically bitten by that spider like Miles Morales did. I wasn't supposed to be in that spot, and I am. I'm grateful for that. I have this faith that I never was going to have if my mom didn't go to church. I have this faith, this stories, these testimonies to give because my mom obeyed that call and obeyed that invitation. So I tell you to go for it. I'll even put the number on the screen, the headquarter direction, everything. I don't know how long it'll take to produce this or edit this, but it's been a blessing to all of you to ever read this, watch this, listen to this. Because many don't support, many don't care. Even now, when I came back to New Jersey, I have 0 people who had called me. 0 people who had called. Only one person, and that person, because I called. He was a friend. He really was. The others have not called, have not wanted to care. I don't know what they heard about me, because some people said apparently it was because I didn't want to be a pastor. Because the pastor in Cagos just kept pressing, "Oh, you don't want to be a pastor." And I told him, "You're right." And he took it from there, and then the email, and so basically everything was the whole events collapsing onto each other. And it came and created and gave birth to the Screwjob. My past sins, Pastor in Cagos telling me you don't want to be a pastor, and me agreeing to the email, it all came to that beautiful art. But even through that curse, even through that bad news, I didn't lose anything. And I know God will make a blessing out of that curse. He said that. It's biblical. I'm not going to put any of these verses, even the verses that I said earlier. You should know it. You should look it up. Because when you want something, when you want to buy something, when you buy new shoes, you look it up. You go on StockX, you go on this. You should want the same for God. You should want to look to Him. You should want to seek. When you seek Him, you will receive. That's facts. But God bless you all.
Undisputed WWE Universal Champion of all time. He's beat leukemia. He's beat all of your favorites. He's taller than you. He's more powerful than you. His hair's better than you. Ladies and gentlemen, Roman Reigns. The goat of all goats, the ultimate needle mover, the tribal chief, the God mode himself. The Big Ooze. This is my cameraman. These people, these are all my people because they acknowledge me. There's only one man that can say to the face of this company. There's only one man that can say to the main event, not a main event. The main event, and there's only one man that carries this company on his back, and his name is the tribal chief, the head of the table, Roman Reigns.